Seed oils cause cancer. Canola, soybean, sunflower, they're inflammatory, they're industrial, they're the hateful eight, and they're poisoning you. If you spend any time online, you've heard this loudly. I'm Michael Merth, a registered dietitian who spent years in oncology nutrition, and this is one of the biggest gaps I've ever seen between what social media says and what the evidence says. Let me walk you through it. The seed oil panic is built on a chain of claims that sound scientific, so let's lay it out honestly. Seed oils are high in linoleic acid, an omega-6 polyunsaturated fat. The body can convert linoleic acid into arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid can be turned into molecules involved in inflammation. Chronic inflammation contributes to cancer. Therefore, the story goes, seed oils drive inflammation and feed cancer. Add a second layer. Seed oils are refined in factories using heat and solvents, which sounds unnatural and sinister next to a bottle of cold pressed olive oil. And they showed up in the food supply over the same century that chronic disease rose. Same time, as is not caused by, but the timeline feels like evidence. Every link in that chain is either exaggerated or broken. Here's where. Start with the core mechanism, because the whole theory rests on it. Yes, linoleic acid can convert to arachidonic acid. The question is, how much? The answer is almost none. In humans, only about 0.2% of linoleic acid actually gets converted. The conversion pathway. The theory depends on barely runs. And you don't have to argue from biochemistry, because researchers measured the real-world outcome. A 2025 study in the journal Nutrients looked at roughly 3,000 people and compared the linoleic acid levels in their blood to their markers of inflammation. It found no connection. Higher linoleic acid did not mean more inflammation. The mechanism that the entire panic is built on does not show up when you actually measure it in people. When your foundational claim fails in a study of 3,000 humans, the building on top of it doesn't stand. So forget the mechanism for a second and ask the only question that really matters. What happens to the people who eat these oils? A 2025 analysis published in JAMA Internal Medicine tracked seed oil intake against health outcomes. The people eating the most seed oil had about 16% lower all-cause mortality than those eating the least. And when researchers modeled swapping 10 grams of butter for the equivalent in seed oil, they saw roughly a 17% lower risk of dying from cancer. Read that direction carefully, because it's the exact opposite of the myth. In the real-world data, more seed oil tracks with living longer and with lower cancer death, not higher. That lines up with decades of evidence that replacing saturated fat with polyunsaturated fat is good for your heart. Memorial Sloan Kettering, a cancer center, not a canola lobby, looked at all of this and concluded the literature strongly supports keeping these oils in a balanced diet. Now, the fair part. You may have seen a 2025 headline linking a component of cooking oil to aggressive breast cancer. That study was real, and I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. Here's what it actually was. Researchers found that linoleic acid could activate a growth pathway through a protein called FABP5 and the mTOR signaling system in triple-negative breast cancer. That's a mechanistically interesting finding, but it was done in cells and in mice using a specific cancer subtype, not in people eating dinner. This is the same trap I keep coming back to on this channel. A finding in a mouse or a petri dish tells you where to look next. It does not tell you what to cook with tonight. The human outcome data, which is the higher bar, points the other way. One provocative mouse study does not overturn population studies of real people, and the scientists who ran it said as much. Don't panic. So is there anything real underneath the noise? Yes, but it's not the oil. Where seed oils genuinely cluster with bad outcomes is in ultra-processed food. Chips, fried fast food, packaged snacks. Those products are a problem, but not because of the oil specifically. They're loaded with excess salt, refined starch, added sugar, and calories, and they crowd out real food. Blaming the canola in the fryer misses the fried, ultra-processed meal it's part of. The other real caveat is hydrogenated oils, the partially processed kind that behaves like saturated fat. Those are worth avoiding. Liquid seed oil used in a home kitchen is a completely different thing. So here's where it lands.